Will it? Will everything be revealed? That executive order specifically directs the administration to, quote, present a plan within 15 days for the full and complete release of all John F. Kennedy assassination records, and immediately review the records relating to Robert F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr., their assassinations, and present a plan for their full and complete release within 45 days. That was 49 days ago now, so quite simply, where are the files? Right before the election in October of last year, President Trump appeared on Joe Rogan in the podcast. Remember that? He said he was pressured to not release the files during his first term, but said that was not going to be a problem this time around. Here's what he said.
If I win, I'm going to open them up. I'm just going to open enough.
Why didn't you open it up the first time?
Because a lot of times,
what was the hesitation, though?
Addresses, people that are still living. There are people that are affected. And there could be some national security reason that I don't have to necessarily know about. But some very good, talented people asked me not to do it. I opened it up, and then they said, would it be possible for us to do that a different day?
How much of it did you read into?
I think it's going to be just fine to open it. Let me put it that way. I think it's fine. It's going to be time. It's a cleansing. It's really a cleansing. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it immediately, almost immediately upon entering office.
It would be a cleansing. I agree with that. And President Trump followed through at least on signing that executive order. But why haven't we gotten any more transparency since that time? Tucker Carlson says he thinks it's because there are still sitting U.S. senators preventing it from happening. Here's what he claims. Listen.
In January, there was a scramble over who's going to get what jobs in the new administration. And at one point, there was someone who was being discussed for a job in the intel world, and a member of the SSCI, the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, Senate Intel Committee, went to the people making the decision and said, you cannot hire this person because this person will be certain to push for the release of the JFK files. So this is in 2025, less than 2 months ago, and you have a sitting member of the United States Senate whose main goal is to keep those files secret. And then you have to ask yourself, what is that?
Yeah.
Exactly. Why?
So why don't you expose that person, first of all, so we can start chasing after him?
Tom Cotton of Arkansas did that.
Tom Cotton?
Yes, correct.
And did you ask him?
I haven't. No, I haven't asked him.
What the hell's going on with you?
I'd like to.
And there it is. Tucker admits he's not actually asked Senator Tom Cotton about any of this directly. Cotton responded to the accusations in an appearance on Fox. Here's what he said about it.
It's false. I have no problem.
Completely false.
Completely
Nothing
false.
to it.
I have no problem releasing the JFK files. Tucker could have called or texted me. He has texted me multiple times in recent weeks and asked me, and I would have told him that. I've never spoken to President Trump or any of his associates or administration officials about the JFK files. I've never objected to someone taking office because of their position on the JFK files. I have to say I have complete faith in Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, John Ratcliffe, and Tulsi Gabbard to carry out President Trump's directive on the JFK files. I'm a little surprised that Tucker Carlson apparently doesn't have faith in those four people, all of whom I think he knows and personally respects, that they're going to carry out President Trump's directive.
Now, that is a curious conflict, isn't it? Tucker says this is the guy, and he says he can text me. He's texted me lots of times. Ask me a question. Get me on the phone. Now, this is what happens when the government does not follow through with the transparency it has promised us. We get a bunch of he said, she said, I don't know, this is what's going on, here's my theory, here's yours. No real evidence for why we're being stonewalled. But make no question, we are being stonewalled. And while I'm at it, there's something else on my mind when it comes to releasing records. In fact, I would say there's almost a greater desire among many of us to see the so-called Epstein list, an inventory of the men and women who participate in Jeffrey Epstein's crimes against young women of human trafficking and sex slavery. This is something we were also promised. It'd be made public, quote, on day 1. But it's day 52 on that clock, I think. Attorney General Pam Bondi said a truckload of files had been delivered after being withheld by the Southern District of New York. Here's what she said about it.
A source said, whoa, all this evidence is sitting in the Southern District of New York.
Yeah.
So based on that, I gave them the deadline, Friday at 8, a truckload of evidence arrived. It's now in the possession of the FBI. Cash is going to get me and himself, really, a detailed report as to why all these documents and evidence had been withheld. And, we're going to go through it as fast as we can, but go through it very cautiously to protect all the victims of Epstein, because there are a lot of victims.
Well, you had identified in phase one over 254.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, is that the only thing that would be redacted? Will everything else be made public that you get in your possession?
Yeah, the FBI hasn't had, obviously, they haven't looked at the thousands of pages of documents that they've just received Friday.
Yeah.
But Cash has a team going through them, and it's always about protecting the victim. But you know what? We believe in transparency, and America has the right to know. The Biden administration sat on these documents. No one did anything with them. And why were they sitting in the Southern District of New York? I want a full report on that. Sadly, these people don't believe in transparency. But I think more, unfortunately, I think a lot of them don't believe in honesty. And it's a new day. It's a new administration. And everything's going to come out to the public. The public has a right to know. Americans have a right to know.
She said it twice there. Americans have the right to know. I agree. So she got those files, 2 weeks ago now? We still haven't heard a peep. Why is that? Here's the head of the FBI New York office walking out after his resignation. Notice he's flanked by crying, cheering colleagues and a pair of bagpipes for whatever reason, I'm not sure. If he was obstructing justice by refusing to cooperate with the Justice Department on January 6 cases in the Epstein list, why is he being cheered out the door? Are there rogue actors, is my point. Are there rogue actors still on the inside keeping this information from reaching the light of day? You have to wonder. Former FBI Special Agent Jody Weiss lays out some of the reasons for delays, but says the AG's messaging on the whole ordeal has not helped the situation one bit. Here he is.
In a case like this, Jan, there are literally hundreds of thousands of documents generated. Plus, there were 2 trials in this case. So you've got all these documents, and I highly doubt that there's going to be this one pristine document that has a list of everybody that's involved. So you've got all these documents that you have to go through. So it comes down to a classic example, know what you're asking for, because who's going to review 100,000 documents?
Right.
Number 2, sensitive information. This case involved a lot of underage victims, and you never know how some of this information was obtained. You always have to look at the sources and the methods. So those are 2 legitimate reasons. Then let's throw in the political and the bureaucratic resistance. If you remember, the Southern District of New York and the FBI office, they were upset that the DOJ wanted to drop that case against Mayor Adams. So you have all those factors playing in. But here's the takeaway from this. This should never have been played out publicly. There should have been discussions between the FBI and the Department of Justice, work out these concerns, and then figure out how you're going to handle it. Do not make these announcements of these documents are going to arrive on this date at this time. Messaging was not good.
Look, I don't care about the messaging. We are beyond messaging. We want justice. We want accountability. Look, we want answers, and we want names. President Trump's counsel, Alina Habba, says that justice is on the way. And look, she's about as tough as she gets. She is a first-class lawyer, tough as nails, sharp as a tack. But she says we have to be patient. This came earlier this week. Here's what she said.
You have to be patient, because when you are wanting to prosecute and actually do something with the information that you have to make sure that you save the integrity of the investigation so that we can bring these people to justice, so that we can hold grand juries, so that we can do certain things. You have to be careful. The value for the American people to know immediately would undercut, we have to do it. We have to expose it. And we're going to be transparent 100%. But we also have to make sure we're not putting any children in danger, putting any minors that don't want and do not deserve to be publicly identified in danger, and making sure that we put forth the information that would still assist us in getting these individuals to justice. It's such a convoluted thing, but I will tell you, transparency is 100% coming. We did get a ton of documents. Pam's letter, I think, was directed towards the SDNY, that we now know the individual in charge there had directives to go in the FBI and said, be the resistance. Do not turn over the documents. We have no tolerance for that. But I would just say to the American people, yes, they got the documents. Cash instructed those individuals that you must cooperate. One resigned, who was leading the charge in not cooperating. And now we have them, and we have to go through them.
And I think that is reasonable. But then why would Pam Bondi make this whole production out of having the files on her desk, which it turned out she didn't have much of anything? She was ready to share with the world and who the villains were. But then she didn't deliver. Why did Kash Patel promise to expose these criminals on day one? Maybe it was just hyperbole. Americans don't like being lied to. We've had enough of that over the years. And I'm not saying these people are lying, but even exaggerating or promising to deliver and then failing to do so, we have a short tolerance for that, too. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna yesterday says she's still putting pressure on the DOJ and the FBI about the files release. See for yourself.
And have you heard anything on when Pam Bondi will release the Epstein files?
I actually bugged the DOJ today about that and the FBI, so I don't speak on behalf of the DOJ or the FBI, but I am hearing that they are reviewing documents. We are pushing for this release. No one is above the law, period. The fact that no one's sitting in jail or has been charged for what Jeffrey Epstein did is pretty abhorrent, so I look forward to the AG bringing charges, investigating, and I would say that if the AG does this, she'll be one of the best AGs in U.S. history. If she doesn't do this, then it is what it is.
Well, it is what it is. Unfortunately, that's the attitude of too many people in this country today. We've come to accept that, and the corruption is inevitable. But I say no more. No more. I say we continue to put the pressure on Pam Bondi and to the rest of her associates to get us this information. We deserve it. We want the answers. We want the monsters identified, because either way, I think the American public deserves to know. Our taxpayer dollars pay Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, the DNI, the FBI, you name it, we pick up the check. And I hope that this administration will continue to follow through with its many promises. But I want these items available for all to see. I'm holding them to it. And you should too. You should too. Coming up after the break, President Trump faces more opposition as his request to look into the Perkins Coie law firm got shot down. But will it be coming back? Probably. Stay tuned for details. On Wednesday, federal judge Beryl Howell, I almost said feral judge, which would not be all that inaccurate, by the way, blocked the Trump administration from enforcing an executive order seeking to penalize Democrat-linked law firm Perkins Coie. You know, the people behind the Russia hoax and so many other things, propaganda, disinformation. And did I mention that Judge Howell is an Obama administration appointment? Of course she is. Tells you all you need to know pretty much all the time. You see, they're scared. They should be. They have a lot to lose here across the board. Here with me to discuss this is the chair of the Constitutional Rights PAC, Larry Ward. Larry, thank you for being here today. Look, I just saw an activist judge in San Francisco today order the Trump administration to rehire people it has released from their jobs that were in their probationary period. Every day I wake up, there's some federal judge in some obscure place dictating what's going on in the whole country. I don't believe this is how it's supposed to work. Help me out, Larry. Am I wrong?
No, you're 100% right. And as a matter of fact, it's the only thing that the left has left. They have zero hold of power in Congress. They have zero hold of power in the executive branch. Trump is actually taking control of the deep state, which is what they used to control Trump in his first term. And Trump is just completely annihilating the deep state every single day. So the only thing they have left are these activist judges. And you said it right. Feral Beryl Howell, I think part of the reason she's so hostile to Trump is because she has a name that's so hard to say. But if the words that she used in her judgment, I'm just going to read it to you because I might have cheered this had this been for the right purpose. So she said, it was retaliatory animus, clear on its face, a violation of constitutional restrictions on viewpoint discrimination. Now, I can't believe she actually wrote that. Viewpoint discrimination with a straight face. She must have been belly laughing when she said that. And then she said it runs head on into the walls of the First Amendment protections. Because where was this type of attitude? Where were these type of judgments during, say, Obama's Operation Choke Point? When the government used
or anything else for that matter. I mean,
businesses.
You can go down the list. Larry, you can go right down a list here. So here's where I don't understand this, and I hear this from people that watch this program every day. How is it that a San Francisco judge, for example, just ordered the Trump administration to hire 6,000 people back to their jobs? The executive can run the executive branch. That's the way it works. Co-equal branches of government. The courts can't come in Bigfoot Donald Trump. They can't come in Bigfoot the executive branch. And yet they're doing it every single day, whether it's Feral Beryl or this guy out in San Francisco earlier today, or there's a whole litany of these things now, right? I mean, we have got to get the judiciary under control.
I really hope that nickname sticks. But here's the thing, you know, with Beryl, with these other judges, they're going to continue to do this until the Supreme Court acts and actually slaps them down, or until Congress impeaches some of these judges. So there has to be some penalty for abusing their power from the bench. And here's the issue: is the issue with the Perkins Coie where yes, I would say the First Amendment is broad and it gives you great power, but the Trump administration not only has the right to and in my opinion the responsibility to remove Perkins Coie's secret security clearance with the federal government because of how they
So here's my question, Larry. Why would they have that clearance in the first place? Why would these people, they're lawyers. They're lawyers, for God's sake. They're not in the Department of Justice. They're not in the FBI. They're not in the CIA. They're lawyers. Why would they have this top clearance anyway? That's what a lot of people are asking.
It's a great question, but here's the thing: you absolutely revoke them because they paid for the Russian dossier, and the left likes to say Russia's our mortal enemy. Well, they paid our mortal enemy to lie about a presidential candidate. They could have put American lives in jeopardy by doing this. They could have created a civil war. There's so many reasons why they should have their security clearance revoked, and it's within the president's power to do so. It's not a violation of the of the First Amendment. As a matter of fact, it's not only the president's responsibility because he's the executive, but because Congress gave him the power. Now, I don't like the particular law, but it's there, and the president has the right to do almost anything when it comes to national security because of the because of the laws that Congress abdicated to the president for the.
Let me ask you this.
Authorization of use.
Last question is this. I mean, here's the last question, Larry. If the Trump administration says, no, we're not giving him back top secret clearance. No, we're not hiring back 6,000 workers that we have released from their employment. No, we're not doing it. What is the constitutional crisis is not Donald Trump saying no. The constitutional crisis are these district federal judges thinking they have the power to wave their sword over the entire nation. That's the constitutional crisis. The judiciary thinking it can dictate from on high to the executive branch. That's the constitutional crisis we face, in my estimation. I'll give you the last word.
Well, you said it exactly right. Biden did that. The courts told him don't give away those student loan the student loan gifts that he was giving away left and right, and he did it anyway. And you know what? Where was the people crying constitutional crisis then? It was us. So yes, we have to actually take this right to the Supreme Court, ask for an emergency hearing on it, and throw this nonsense out.
Absolutely right. Larry, I appreciate you being here. Larry Ward is from the Constitutional Rights PAC. He's fired up today, and so am I. Larry, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Greatly appreciated. After the break, the pressure is on Elon Musk and the SpaceX team to make good on a promise to bring back the stranded astronauts. It's never without risk, but with today's launch delayed, the question on everyone's mind is how much longer will those astronauts be stranded in space? The story after the break on AVL. SpaceX team is currently waiting to address the hydraulic system issues and get clearance for liftoff. Let's take a moment to examine the situation and talk about why the rescue effort is taking so long to begin with. Better yet, why is it that a rescue mission has to be led by Elon Musk and not NASA in the first place? Here with me to discuss this is Robert Lauer, the CEO at United Spaceports and the Las Vegas Spaceport. Robert, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me on, Steve.
So my understanding, Robert, is that the ship that took these two astronauts to space is compromised to a point that they don't believe that it's safe to return that craft to Earth with these two astronauts on board. Is that correct? Can you lay it out for us, this timeline as you understand it?
Well, this all started actually back in around 2010 when Boeing and NASA tried to create a new platform to bring astronauts to the International Space Station. And for about 15 years and billions of dollars later, they failed. And what we're looking at is now is Elon Musk and his SpaceX is saving our country and saving the space program. And that's what he's really done. So let's start from where this really happened. That was last year when these astronauts were left behind. And this all goes back to, without getting political, but the facts are the facts. And that's Joe Biden left Americans to die in his disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. Joe Biden left Americans to die at the hands of Hamas. He left Americans to die in North Carolina, and he left these American astronauts to die in space. They were supposed to be up there for 8 days. For 8 days.
Yeah, let me jump in there because when you say he left them to die, look, this offer from Elon Musk happened months and months and months ago, and the Biden administration said, yeah, we don't want your help, right? That's what happened. That's how 100%. We are still here today, right?
Absolutely. And that was because Elon Musk was out there publicly supporting President Trump for his election, and they didn't want to give Elon Musk a victory. And there's a lot of politics, obviously, behind the scenes, too. But let's be clear. Before Elon Musk came around, we didn't have a space program. We shut down the space shuttle, and we were going on rockets in Russia and hitching a ride from Russian rockets. So Elon Musk saved our space program. And before Elon Musk, 20 years ago, there was only four entities that put a rocket, a person, or satellite in space. That was the United States government, the Russian government, the Chinese government, and Elon Musk. So his SpaceX program, his Falcon 9, which was funded with his own money, private money, has brought the cost down from $19,000 a kilogram for a person or cargo to space to $1,900 a kilogram to bring a person or cargo to space. And at the same time, for all those people out there, all those Karens who worried about the spaceship blowing up, listen, the fact is that the Falcon 9 rocket has had a 99.3% safety record with over 458 launches over the last 10 years. So his safety record is impeccable compared to those of other entities. So we owe so much to Elon Musk. And so because of that, and the fact is we're right now in a new space race with China.
Hold on, Robert.
With Russia.
Let me make an observation here. You think Elon Musk is a hero, an American hero, because he came here to do it. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Without him, we'd be out of this. Barack Obama gutted the space program, right? It was he gutted the space program. You think that Elon Musk is a hero, at least in this arena.
Well, let me just say this. Elon Musk has absolutely saved the United States of America's space program. However, I want to also be fair to President Obama and the Republican-controlled Congress did pass the Commercial Space Act in 2016. That's opened the door to privatization like we're building right now. Our company is building the Las Vegas Spaceport to be able to provide services like this and be able to provide launch services to be able to get satellites and people into space in the future. But the fact is, without Elon Musk, we wouldn't have a space program. We wouldn't be able to get people and cargo up to space. Everything else has failed. He's the only person who's been able to get this done and successfully. And so, yeah, we have to give credit where credit's due. He has definitely been an American hero when it comes to the space program, and no one should take that away from him.
Yeah, and stop squandering money with failed ideas. If the Boeing thing doesn't work, at some point just cut the cord. Be done. Don't send good money after bad. Do what works. Go with a proven system, and SpaceX is that proven system. Congratulations, by the way, on the Las Vegas spaceport and all the other things you're working on. Really appreciate you being here today, Rob. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, good stuff right there. Now, you've seen it before when disaster strikes. Grocery store shelves go empty overnight. The worst time to prepare is during the aftermath. By then, look, it's too late. Smart Americans trust My Patriot Supply to help them prepare before crisis arrives at their doorstep. And right now, they're making it easier than ever. Listen to this. Order the 4-week emergency food supply kit. Get 4 72-hour food kits completely free. That's right, you heard me right. That's almost 2 weeks of bonus meals at no cost. Each of these kits offers over 2,000 calories per day of delicious, easy-to-prepare meals that last up to 25 years. That's real peace of mind, real peace of mind. No last-minute panic, no empty shelves, just knowing you're prepared. You can sleep at night. Stock up today before this deal disappears, because when an emergency hits, food will be the first thing to go. And hungry people are angry people. I learned that from my brother when I was a kid. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com to claim your kit plus an extra 12 days of free food. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com. Brother Shane, it's true and you know it. Coming up after the break, the continuing resolution has passed thanks to the consistent effort of President Trump to avoid a shutdown, but we're not in the clear yet, because you know what? The Democrats want a government shutdown. We'll talk about it in a moment. Discussing the continuing resolution and how a deal got passed to keep the government funded at current levels through the 1st of October. However, the matter is now on to the United States Senate, where GOP leaders hope to rally together to gain a majority vote for the bill and avoid a government shutdown set for tomorrow. Here with me to discuss the matter, Paul Mueller, who is a senior research fellow at the American Institute for Economic Research. Paul, I greatly appreciate you being here. Look, it looks like the Democrats, who always, scream about how seniors are going to go without checks and military people will have to be going without their money and how a shutdown will hold hostage all of these checks and these people. They don't seem to care today. In fact, from where I'm sitting, I don't think it's likely that we avoid a government shutdown. But if we have one, it's Chuck Schumer's shutdown, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's, the Democrats, it's kind of, if you say up, they say down. If you say left, they say right. That they're really wanting to just do the opposite here. That this continuing resolution is not a radical resolution. As Speaker Johnson has said, it's a clean bill. It cuts a little bit of spending, not very much, but, again, because it's a Republican bill, it seems like Chuck Schumer and others just want to say no. And the issue is, I think the Republicans have a majority in the Senate, but they don't have enough to break a filibuster.
I used to think that Trump derangement syndrome was kind of a silly thing to say, when you first. But look, the empirical evidence is that's what it is. These people will say no to Trump. He's right. If he cured cancer, they'd say, well, look, he's created unemployment for oncologists. That's what they would do to him. And now you've got Doge derangement syndrome. Anything that Elon Musk does is evil. It's terrible. It's an affront to America. It's ridiculous. I think the Democrats are willing to shut down the government just to spite Donald Trump, and no other reason. Seems that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, again, it does seem like that. There is, Trump hasn't done himself favors with them, maybe because they can't be pleased. But, the tariff stuff, or there's with Doge, whenever there's any slip up, any misinformation, or, they have to correct something, that's immediately held up as a red flag. And so, I think what we're going to have to see is we're going to have to wait to see how the economy goes, wait for the lower energy prices to kick in. I think, again, most of the Americans are sort of on board with what Trump's trying to do, but it's difficult. There's a lot of entrenched bureaucracies. I saw just today a judge ordered the rehiring of thousands of government employees. And so the question is if the president can't decide to reduce the size of the federal bureaucracy, if he can't decide to reduce spending, who can? And I think that's what we're dealing with here is a lot of resistance and entrenched interests.
Right. There's no question. And, look, you've got government employees that are being, terminated. You've got these cuts that are happening. You've got changes coming. But how long can the Democrats really resist this? They can shut the government down. But the reconciliation bill is coming. Paul, there's no question about it. They don't need 60 votes for the reconciliation bill. They've got 53 Republican senators. They're going to get that across the finish line at some point. If the Democrats continue to play ball with this government shutdown, I think people realize, at least more than half of the people will realize, that it lays at the Democrats' feet. I think this is another stone-cold loser for them. It's a party that doesn't seem to have a message, a direction, leadership. They've got a plethora of problems. I don't think this solves a single one of them. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think it helps them in any way, not politically and not for the country. Where am I wrong?
Yeah, that's, it's a challenge. I'm not sure I can remember a time when the Democrats shut down the government. Often it's blamed on Republicans not getting on board with more spending. And usually it's around the debt ceiling or, Republicans not being happy about increasing spending. But it'll be interesting to see, I'm not sure what they have to gain, that if the government shuts down, it'll clearly be on their plate, in terms of their opposition. And so I guess we'll see. You're right. The reconciliation bill doesn't require a filibuster-proof majority. Just the 53 will be plenty. And so, we'll see. I'm not sure. We saw at the address to Congress last week that there's a lot of theatrics involved these days in terms of trying to respond to President Trump. And so, sure are. In terms of theater, that this maybe is what they're doing. Again, I think you're right. I'm not sure they're going to gain a whole lot from it, but we'll have to see.
I guess we will have to see. I don't think they gain anything from it. I think they lose traction here. And like I said, it's a rudderless, leaderless, kind of clueless Democrat Party today that can't seem to find its footing, and that's just where we are, and I think that people could pay a price for that. Having said that, though, I'm going to give you the last word on this. I don't think that, generally speaking, a government shutdown affects that many people. It's great fodder for the news. It's great for you and I to sit here and talk about, but not that many people actually feel much pain from it. I'll give you the last word.
Well, you're right. I mean, I think it's amazing. I remember years ago, with the first government shutdown, I remember being, walking around and talking to friends and the people, and they're like, oh, the government shut down? I didn't realize it. So unless, because there are a lot of the programs continue. I mean, a lot of the essential personnel are still going to be paid, and Social Security stuff still going to go out. So it's actually fairly limited in its scope normally. So I think, again, it'll just reinforce what Trump and Musk have been saying with Doge of, maybe we don't need nearly as much government spending and employees and regulation as we thought. So, again, I think for a lot of people, you're right. They're not going to notice.
Yeah. Shut the government down. Look, we didn't need it anyway.
That's right. Go the whole way. Don't just cut it. Shut it all down.
Exactly. Shut it all down. Save us tons of money. Paul, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, after the break, the California board approves a sizable $2 million budget to protect and provide legal services to illegal aliens. A bold statement from California amid President Trump's crackdown on illegals is coming up next on AVL. President Trump's efforts to fight illegal immigration continue to be watched as Americans hope for, some relief from the issue. However, California board in Alameda has put aside $2 million to further support illegal immigrants, even amidst President Trump's crackdown on the issue. Join me today to talk about California's decision, Sam Mirosky. He is the legal expert with 30 years of experience and the host of the What's Right show. Sam, thank you for being here. Now, maybe I'm getting my cities confused, but Alameda, didn't they deal with fires here recently?
Well, they didn't directly, but they still are going to spend money that they don't have helping protect illegals from Trump's immigration efforts. And it's all part of what the whole state of California is doing. I mean, the state is bankrupt. We're in a $68 billion deficit. Hand outstretched to the feds right now for $40 billion to help with the fires, and it's insane because at the same time, they're stashing away $50 million to fight Trump. So it's just absolutely crazy talk.
Well, it's interesting at a time when Gavin Newsom is ramping up his effort to run for president here in 2028, because it clearly is. He sat down with our good friend Charlie Kirk here just a couple of days ago, did a podcast. He seems to be reinventing himself politically across the board. This doesn't help him. These sorts of things do not help him, so it seemed to me that he'd like this stuff to quietly go away, but it does not, right?
But I watched clips on Charlie Kirk in the interview, and of course he's been on with a couple other conservatives since then. And what he's doing is he's saying something completely different from his record. I mean, the guy's been governor for a term and a half. Before that, 2 terms as lieutenant governor, and then he served as the mayor of San Francisco, which he certainly didn't leave in better shape than when he started. And so he's got a long established record as a far left lunatic. And he thinks that by going on a few podcasts, it's going to he's going to whitewash, years of crazy liberalism. And I don't know how he does it, but he's certainly giving it a try.
Yeah, but back to the basis of this conversation here. Look, California, this is just one little bit, one drop in the bucket, really. This $2 million to support illegals. I mean, it costs California residents billions, whether it's San Diego or San Francisco or all points in between. I mean, let's just be honest about it. It is a financial disaster for California every single day, whether it's the school rooms, the hospital rooms, the waiting rooms, the board rooms. I mean, it's a problem across the board for California. All of this money pumped out either by private companies or by the government, usually the government after they take it from private companies. It's a disaster for California residents, is it not?
Yeah, California spends, this is the number, it's $9.5 billion a year, at least, for illegal immigrant health care alone. That doesn't include education. That doesn't include any other costs. That's just health care. So, Steve, to your point, I mean, if you look at the overall losses that California taxpayers are suffering, this is probably likely north of $25 billion a year. It is unsustainable, frankly.
Yeah. How do you correct it? Honestly, how do you correct it? Gavin Newsom might try to reinvent himself politically here for the next 12 or 18 months, but he cannot reverse the supermajority of the Democrats and all the bad policies they put forth and all the bad ideas, and not just statewide. A lot of this is municipalities, it's counties, it's different jurisdictions. It's a patchwork of bad ideas. It's a quiltwork of really stupid things, and they pile up against people, which is why California's been losing 250,000 people net loss in population every year for a while now. It's not going to slow down. I mean, you look at the big companies, the tech giants are leaving. Elon Musk is leaving. Everybody's leaving that has money or sense, right?
There are only 2 things that can fix California, moving forward, and that is paper ballots and same-day voting. That's it. And every dollar of federal help that California is given ought to be conditioned on bringing about those 2 changes to elections in the state. I just don't see any other way.
It's interesting. You point that out. It's one of the clips that Charlie Kirk, one of the things he pointed out was, look, in India they have, 600 million votes? I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. They're up and down in 24 hours. Germany has 80 million votes. They're done in 8 hours. How is California counting after 4 weeks? And we all know that 4 Republicans were leading there for weeks until the very end, and somehow the Democrats snuck up and took the seats, 4 seats, I think it was, in total in California. or otherwise you wouldn't even have a very close House of Representatives right now. It's truly disheartening because it's dishonest. And not to mention that California has 7 members of Congress they don't deserve because they're counting illegal aliens to get those seats in Congress, which they do not deserve. But we'll leave that for another day. I'll give you the last word.
Well, I mean, it's absolutely a criminal enterprise what Democrats have done and are doing in California. And you're absolutely correct. That, every other place in the country, in the world, can run an election cleanly for some reason, but we can't. And I think it's by design. So, the flip answer that Newsom gave to Charlie Kirk on this is silly. He knows what he's doing. He's taken advantage of this. He's created this problem in order to be able to maintain political power for himself and for his party. So it needs to change, and I hope Trump can do something about it.
Well, and I certainly hope he can. I greatly appreciate you being here. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Steve. Pleasure.
Greatly appreciate it. We're going to take a break and be back on America's Voice Live. We're going to have What Makes America Wonderful, plus your America's Voice question of the day, which, of course, we do every day here on the program. We appreciate you being here. Do you think the Senate will pass the government funding bill and avoid a shutdown by the end of the week? Why or why not? Thank you very much. We'll be right back. All right, every day we bring you a story to tell you how wonderful America is. Why? Because you need a smile on your face. A lot of serious things out there. Never too much to have a smile about how great America is. Let's do this one today. In Madison, Mississippi, one name brings instant joy. Omari. Beloved by the community, Omari is a young man who wears many hats, always finding ways to uplift those around him. Whether he's lending a hand at a summer arts camp, choreographing school plays, assisting with show choir auditions, serving meals at the Beagle Bagel, or balancing college life, Omari is constantly on the move, making Madison a brighter place. It's like a mission. When an accident left his car undrivable, his friends and neighbors knew it was time to return the favor. Without his knowledge, the community rallied together, sharing his story in local Facebook groups and launching a heartfelt effort to get him back on the road. Thanks to their generosity, a reliable used car was purchased, all as a surprise when Omari was finally handed the keys. Well, emotions ran high, and those who know him best weren't at all surprised by the outpouring of love and support. Now, thanks to this generosity of his community, Omari can return to doing what he does best, bringing joy to others and making a lasting impact wherever he may roam. God bless America. All right. Do you think the Senate will pass the government funding bill and avoid a shutdown by the end of the week? Why or why not? Jen. Blame the Republicans for it. The Democrats are such hypocrites. They show themselves by what they do and how they do it. May it pass the Senate somehow, some way. It will work out. Papa Caveman. That's a cute name. If, and a big if, the GOP stays united, the Dems will fold. Just imagine how much government could be permanently cut by Trump during a shutdown. Oh, yeah. Urias writes, either they expect or accept and pass it, or they own it. This is one that they can't take to a leftist judge. And one more, the Gadsden Warrior. The demon rats will shut the government down for spite. We talked about that earlier. I think they will do it for spite. All right, so Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, walking up to the microphones at the White House. We're going to join him live right now.
I'm going to have a meeting, and then I'll talk to you later.
What's your goal for those meetings, Secretary Lutnick?
Sorry, guys, I got to get to the points, Howard.
All right, that's it for America's Voice Live. We'll see you tomorrow.
America's Voice family.
Are you on Getter yet? No?
What